Ever find yourself waiting endlessly at a big box pharmacy, feeling like just another number? At Tablet Pharmacy, they provide the personalized service you deserve. They offer free delivery and blister packaging options to make managing your medications easier than ever. Check their competitive prices online at tabletpharmacy.ca.
Hello, friends. I am Cindy Thompson, and this is a Resilience Project. This is a space where stories are shared and possibilities are discovered. I invite you to partner with me in cultivating resilience among humans, one conversation at a time. With a perpetual amazement for the human spirit, each conversation I have is truly a privilege in hearing yet another story of strength, determination, and resilience. Today, Rephar Salamba is speaking with us from Nairobi, Kenya, on her experience of leaving an abusive marriage, what she discovered about herself as a mother, and becoming a social advocate for those in need. Sometimes it's surprising even to us the gifts that we have to offer, and through adversity, we can truly find strengths that have yet to be realized. Rephar has a passion for creating crafts from scrap and new materials and appreciating the process of piecing them together and seeing how it takes form. In the same way that she creates something amazing from so little, Rephar is also passionate for finding beauty in people. At a time when she herself had very little, Rephar began interacting with the community around her, helping to find long-term solutions for those in poverty, HIV, AIDS positive, or single parents raising their children in the slum areas of Kenya. Most recently working with a group of women who call themselves Smart Mothers of Korogocho slums, Rephar is tapping into her own experience of leaving an abusive marriage to support and teach the women basic life and business skills. All right, Rephar, thank you so much for being here today. It is your evening in Nairobi, Kenya, and so I'm really pleased to have a conversation with you today.
The pleasure is mine as well.
So we are going to be sharing with our listeners some of your story. And when I think about resilience, I think about some of the amazing experiences that people have had to weather. And you and I have had a preliminary discussion, which gave me a little bit of a window into the life you have lived so far. And we're hoping to share that with our listeners today. Where would you like to jump in to help the listeners understand some of the key parts of your story?
I grew up from a middle-class home. My parents were providing for us and we were very comfortable. Even when I went into marriage, I knew that my life was going to be just as I grew up.
Okay.
Having the children, raising them, and just going on with life. Having your squabbles, but getting by. But for me, before I could even say I was enjoying my marriage, I was already in the rocks. The father to my son, when we just gotten married, is when he started cutting off my ties to my family, which I let him, because I thought, let me first build my marriage, then I will let them back in. But as it progressed, I realized that I'd already given him too much space. But by then I was already expectant. And the time it really hit me is when he told me to choose, to either stay employed or to stay married to him, because he had gotten a transfer and we were to move from Nairobi to Mombasa.
I see.
I thought I could actually talk to him, but I didn't want to hear of it. So with my naivety, I chose my marriage. So I gave up my work. When we moved to Mombasa, it felt very nice. But after that, when I was giving me instructions of what he is expecting of me, which was also quite unsettling. It's something I'd never experienced, even with my own parents. The first thing I was told, whenever anyone calls me, he has to confirm who's calling before I actually speak to them. And then he also didn't allow me to have any money on my phone. If I needed anything, he would be the one to go buy. So even going out to go buy groceries, to go even buy my own personal stuff, I couldn't do that. I had to write down a list. He goes and he buys and he brings them. But I was like, I can bear with this. If it's going to make him happy, it's going to make marriage work, why not? This happened for about 2 months. And I realized I hadn't spoken to my mother within those 2 months after I left Nairobi, which threw me aback. I was like, I've never stayed this long without talking to my mom, let alone my siblings.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember he had left money for lunch. So I opted not to buy lunch, and I opted to buy credit to put on my phone so that I could talk to my mother. So when he came back in the evening, he asked me if I've actually had any phone conversations with anyone, and I told him no. So he told me, pass me your phone. So I gave him my phone, and he went through the call logs, and he was like, you called your mother. Who asked you to call your mother? And that's the time it actually dawned to me, it's not going to happen. He's not going to let me have my space. And as time went by, I also came to realize I was having several affairs outside. But as it went on, I was really getting angry. So the minute I confronted him, I remember he became violent. He hit me, and I didn't know what to do because I was far away from my parents. I was far away from my family. And I remember he asked me, whom are you going to call now to come and help you? Your family is far. And I cried. I remember that day I cried so much and asked myself, what did I get myself into? But I still have a small baby. Maybe things will change. So I thought to myself, even with the conversation that I was having with my mother, she told me, until you feel secure and happy in that marriage, don't bring another child into the world. First, make sure that the environment is conducive for you to be able to raise your child. He was having affairs, and he could come home and he would still demand to have his sexual rights over me. And even though I would refuse, he would force himself. No matter what I would say, he would tell me, you're my wife. Whenever I ask, you have to give it to me. Tell him I'm not feeling well. And I remember even there was a time he called me a prostitute. He told me I'm flipping around and I'm bringing the sicknesses into the house. He gave me money and he told me, can you go get yourself sorted out? I don't want to have this mess in the house. I went to the doctor, and the doctor checked me and he told me, this is not you. This is a sexually transmitted illness. And I remember I cried and I was asking myself, why is my husband doing this to me? And I asked him. He hit me a second time, and I remember he held my head between his legs and he told me, I'm going to hit you so hard, you won't even remember your name, and you will come to listen to everything that I have to say, and you will do as I say. I'm the man in this house. You don't question my actions. You don't tell me what to do, and you don't ask me who my friends are. And from then on, I just kept quiet. And I could go to the gynecologist and he would give me medication for myself and also for him. And he will take them. And even he will remind me and ask me, have you taken your medication? You know what is going on. But instead you're asking me if I'm the one who's taken them as well. And I remember when I talked to my mom, I don't think I can do this anymore. This man has pushed me too far. And I told him, Mom, I don't have a voice. I can't say anything. I can't even decide what we're eating. I was like, Mom, what kind of a marriage is this? My mom told me, my daughter, the decision you have to make, I can't make it for you. You're the one who needs to make that decision. What I'm going to do, I'll actually end his life. And I remember it got so bad that I even ended up sleeping with a knife under my pillow, trying to just visualize how I was going to end this man's life because it's brought so much hurt to my life. I hated life itself. I couldn't even take care of my son because I looked at my son and I was just seeing his father. The conversation that I had with my mom, be assured that the next conversation you'll be getting, you'll be told that there's one person is at the mortuary and the other person is at the police station. I don't know who it will be, but that's the way it's going to be. She told me if it has got too bad, you're still welcome to come home. And I told her, Mom, I don't think I can come home. I was like, what are people going to think of me? You come. I need you alive. I don't need you dead or in prison. After 1 week, I got the courage and I packed my bags, took my son, and I went back home.
You needed to get out.
Yeah, I did. I'd gotten so hostile to myself and even to my son. I couldn't even hold a conversation without being indifferent with whoever is talking to me.
I can hear the desperation For you to get to the point where you would think about ending his life just to relieve the pressure. You were seeing fewer options as time went along. It must have been so difficult.
It was. When I went back home, I asked myself, what am I going to do? I have a son. I don't have a job. How am I going to be able to take care of my son? And I remember my mom told me, your dad and I are here. We will take care of you. We will provide for you till the time you can actually stand on your own 2 feet. Yeah, I remember I looked at my son and I thought to myself, am I really fit enough to raise this boy? Can I actually give him what he needs? Can I give him the life that he's supposed to live, the love that he needs? Instead of being a burden to my family and to my son, it's going to be good if I end my own life. And it's like my mom had my thoughts. Because I remember she called me and she told me, Rephar, whatever you're thinking about. She was like, this boy needs you. Your father is not in the picture anymore. You're the one who's here. You need to be strong enough to raise this boy and believe that God is going to open a door and you will have your own life. But you have to pull yourself up. To me, it was like it was noise. I'm already a wreck. I'm a mess. Of what good am I here? But my mom didn't give up. She kept on talking to me.
Rephar, can you paint the picture of when you showed up at home? What did your mom and your brothers see in you when you first arrived home after being away?
It was a beautiful sight. So I remember when I got home, I opened the door. And I remember when I saw my mom, I could see the tears that she was holding back. And I remember my brother, the one, my immediate follower, he looked at me and he told me, Rephar, are you really fine? Yeah, I am fine. He was like, no, Rephar, tell us the truth. I got to look at myself in the mirror. I had gotten so dark, I couldn't even tell it was me. And I'd lost so much weight. I was even smaller than what I was when I actually met the father of my son.
And how old was your son at this time?
He was 9 months old.
So all of this happened in such a short period of time, the amount of control.
Yes, a short period of time.
Yeah. Well, I just so appreciate your vulnerability to even share that story again. I can see the emotion it brings up again, even though your son is now 16, and you can hear the hurt and the trauma associated with that for you in such a dark time. And to the point where you were so beat up, you'd lost your confidence, and you really were doubting whether you had anything to offer your son.
Yeah.
It sounds like your mom was an amazing strength for you and has continued to be an amazing strength in just saying the right words to give you hope.
Yes.
So from there, now you've moved back home with your parents, with your son. Where did things start to take a turn for the better for you?
When I started listening more to my mom and stopped listening to my pain and to the words that I kept on speaking to myself, when I silenced that voice, I remember when she told me that is when she could see the light in my eyes once again. And I remember she told me, Rephar, you have a love for people, and I would like you to reach out to people because I know you can actually make a difference. But I didn't understand what she was talking about. So for me, I remember she just told me that she knows that I'm creative. And I remember she bought me beads. And she told me, Rephar, I want to see what you can do with these beads. And I told her, Mom, what do you want me to do with these beads? And she was like, Rephar, I don't have to tell you. I know you'll figure it out.
I love that.
Yeah. And I remember I sat and I thought to myself, and I looked, and they were very beautiful beads. They looked really nice. So I thought to myself, I can make earrings. I can even make a necklace. Let me try. So when I pieced the first pieces together and then I showed her, why are you surprised? She was like, I knew that's what you're going to do. Can you make more? So I remember I went with her into town. She told me to pick what I needed. And I did. And I came back home. That was the time I really felt like I was doing something and I was happy and I was so calm. It was like it was a breath of fresh air. And I was like, Mom, how did you know? She was like, I'm your mother. I know you. And she was like, Rephar, I know you're creative. And she was like, I know you can make very many things. So you tell me what it is that you're thinking of creating, and I will do my best to provide for you the materials that you need. She was like, now, Rephar, you need to think of whom you can sell these items to. And I told her, Mom, I'm not so good at selling things. We have to figure out, because this can make you some money. So I remember when I was going out, I went to speak to a neighbor, but he told me, why can't you use these boys, the youth who are just here, use them to be the ones to market your stuff, to walk around with them and sell them. You've seen that they just sit around and they don't do anything. So when he told me that, I even forgot I was supposed to be looking for market for my beads. And now he said, I told my mom, my neighbor has told me that these young boys, they just sit and they idle around. Let me find out why. She was like, please go ahead. So I remember I went and I was with my youngest brother and I was asking him, what is going on? Most of them haven't cleared high school. Others are done with high school, but their parents can't afford to take them to the college or take them to do anything. And even he told me, if you don't take care of these guys, you will see them here after a week or two, become a thug, or another is peddling drugs. He was like, outside here, it's survival. Not everyone is like us. So I thought to myself, what can we do? So I remember I met a group of boys who are between the age of about 17 to 20. Mm-hmm. And I remember I asked them, why do you guys just idle around? And they're like, as we're here, we're not idling around. He was like, but they were just sizing up people. We look at the ones who are carelessly handling their merchandise. So one of us can distract the other, and the other one will go pick it and they will take off. And then now we'll have to go look for how we'll sell it so that we can share the cut. Mm. So I was like, and can you do anything else other than this? It was like, we're here. If you have an idea, please share. We are open. So I told them, please just give me a week or two at most. I'm sure I'm going to come up with something. And I told them, if you know any other who are like you, please bring them. Bring them together. I want to speak to you guys when you're a bigger crowd. So I remember I went back to the house and I was discussing with my kid brother and my mom, and I was telling them, how can we be able to change these boys' lives? My mom was like, get them something to do. They're boys, they're energetic, get them something to do. I was like, what is it that I can actually get them to do? And they were like, I don't know, come up with something. Here, we don't even know who collects trash around our place, the garbage and all. And the river that is close there, it's a stream that is part of the Nairobi River. That's where everybody goes and dumps their trash, which also pollutes the river. What if they start a garbage collection group? Just the boys to do it themselves, and I see how they run it. I was like, that's a good idea. When I told my brother to go tell them, I'll be talking to them on a Saturday afternoon at about 2. And they came. And they came about 15 boys.
Wow, they brought a bunch of guys.
Yes. And I was surprised because I was expecting maybe they'll come 7, maybe 2 more. I wasn't expecting such a large number. So when I talked to them, they were like, that is something we can do. But I told them, I'm not giving you any money. I don't even have money to give you. But I need you guys to raise the money so that you can be able to offer the garbage bags that the neighborhood needs to put in their trash. Then you have something to pick, and then you have to replace them back. So they told me, roughly, what do you expect us to be able to raise? If we can raise everyone to come with Kenya shillings 50, which is about, I think, 50 cents or something, if you convert it to your currency. And they're like, yeah, I can hustle and get that money. So I told them, by the next time we meet, come next Saturday, all of you needs to come with that money, which they did. So I told them, can you budget how much the garbage bags are? and how many homes you're targeting to be able to take up your service. So I remember there was a boy who, before even we met that Saturday, he'd gone around their houses asking the ones who would be willing to be able to receive the services from them. And they were quite happy because the neighborhood was quite receptive, because nobody really wanted to have the hassle of figuring out where they will throw their trash. So the charges they were giving, they were charging 120 shillings in a month, which is almost, I think, $1.02.
Would that have been a lot of money even for people living in the slums, or were they going outside of the slums?
Now, they were going outside the slums. Now they were targeting people who are paying rent in 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom houses.
I see.
Yes. So with the money that they were able to raise, they were able to buy enough bags to be able to circulate to their houses for the first run. So I told them, I'm going to check up on you, but I won't tell you when, to see how you're working. It was about almost a month when I came to check on them, and they were doing so well. They're even telling me how they're breaking down the money and how much money they're paying each other at the end of every week.
Wow.
To take care of themselves so that they do not get into all these other vices. Mm-hmm. And I told them, if you have that kind of money, then that means you can also use part of your profit to also add another service other than garbage collection. And they're like, what else can we do? I told them, I've even thought of cleaning carpets, the households where you go pick their trash. Give a reasonable fee. And I remember they started with our house, because my mother told me, let them try with ours. If it does not work out, let it be ours. There'll be no one to blame, and there'll be no one demanding for a compensation. They cleaned it. It was so clean. Yes, they have been doing it together with other neighbors. They're even able to buy themselves a vacuum cleaner, where they used to even clean sofas. And also they started a car wash, where now people could bring in their cars and clean their cars, and the vacuum, and they're still collecting the garbage and all that. And I was like, it's a good thing, as they discover the other skills and talents that they have. Others who went after being in the group, they moved out and started working in a garage, helping as mechanics. And eventually these garages took them in. It was almost like it was a transitional point where these boys who didn't know where they were going will go there, do it, and then the ones who didn't know where else they will go, they will remain. I've already done my part. You guys continue.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I was so happy. I told my mom, and my mom told me, I told you need to reach out to people.
You're a natural. You're a natural at that.
I told my mom, I've worked with the boys, but I haven't worked with the girls. Because I'm sure the girls, they're even more vulnerable than the boys are. So I told my mom, why can't I also do the same for the girls? She was like, my daughter, I know what you can do. Please do whatever your spirit tells you to do. Go ahead. I'm here. I'll support you. And I also talked to these boys. They're the ones who even introduced me now to a group of the girls, and they had started up a football team. From mid-morning till at about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, they would be training, and then they will go back home. The one thing that got me very fascinated with this group was one girl was expectant. By the time I was with them, she was about 6 months pregnant, but you couldn't tell. She was still playing. She was very energetic. She, in fact, is the one who came and told me, I am expectant, but I don't know what to do when I get this baby because I don't have a source of income. I love to play football, but when I get my baby, I won't be able to play football. How am I going to be able to cater to my child? After talking to them, I talked to their coach and asked their coach, other than just training them, what else do you have in mind for these girls? He was like, football is all that I know. I don't know anything else. So if anybody messes up, they're out of the team. Now they have to figure out what they're going to do with their lives. And I was like, that is not a good place to be. Because if you're put in such a desperate position, you'll end up doing very desperate things, which you're going to regret later. Mm-hmm. So I remember after I'd met these girls, I told them, give me some time. let me think about it and see what or how I can be able to be of assistance to you just other than the football. And I talked to my mom, and my mom was like, with girls, being a receptionist or a secretary or basic computer skills or doing hair, makeup, those are things that come very easy with a girl child. If you can be able to get someone who can be able to offer this kind of basic training to these girls, it will be very well. So I thought to myself now, whom do I know that can actually do this for these girls? And they really, really need it. So I remember there was a friend of mine, and her father's organization normally works to reach out to the children in the slum areas through sports. So I remember when she told me that, I told her, by the way, can I be able to talk to your dad? So I remember I went to talk to the dad. He was like, you have a very nice idea, but now he referred me to, I can say, like a sister organization that was being led by his brother-in-law. So I spoke to the brother-in-law and he agreed. And he was like, yeah, the girls, they're going to come into this organization. We will definitely give them these basic skills. They'll be trained to either be a receptionist, a secretary, or basic computer skills, just to start with. He was expecting some donors from overseas that were coming to see his organization and see how they can be able to be of assistance to his organization. So he told me, you come with the girls, and you're the one who's going to introduce the girls and talk about them with what you're expecting. So I remember when we went for that function, I talked about the girls. I talked about the way they have a passion for football. There was even a tournament that was held. They watched the girls play. They actually saw that the girls were talented. So I told them, for me, it's just to help the girl child to avoid the rate of premarital sex and also the unexpected pregnancy, together with the early marriages that also happen very much so in the slum areas due to the poverty. They were really impressed with the girls. After we had finished, they told that man, and that is the group that they would like to support. So all he told me is that now these girls need to come and they need to start practicing here. And then we also need now to start integrating them into the courses that they need to do. I was like, that is not a problem. So I remember I went to the girls to the office. I was there when they did the introductory course. But I remember when I went there the second week, the security could not let me in. So I asked him why. And he told me that the main man had said, I'm not being granted access into the organization and into their premise. But I was like, my girls are in there. He was like, yeah, the girls are in there, but you are not part of the girls. The girls are a different entity from you. So when I called the wife, she told me, he didn't tell you. I'm the one now who is in charge of the girls. And now it's me and him who are going to be running these girls. Now it's no longer about you. And she told me, it is not my part to explain, but he's the one who made the decision and he's the one who owns the organization. So it's for me to do what he says. So I remember the girls were training in a field that was not so far from where I used to stay. So I remember I went there and he was there. And I confronted him and I asked him, why are you doing this? He was like, the donors want to fund the girls. And if the donors want to fund the girls, the one who's running the girls is the one who's going to get the funding. You are the one who's handling the girls. You are the one who's going to get the funding, not me. Oh. But I told him I was going to work under your organization. It was not my money. It was the money for the girls. Mm-hmm. He was like, that is how we run organizations. I walked away and I told him, please go ahead. Do as you please. So I remember I went home and I was very furious. I was so mad. And my mom told me, Rephar, you can't give up. I was like, Mom, I've tried. Mom, I've done so much. I've worked so hard. I've worked with these girls from so far. And then now this man does this. I was like, Mom, this is not fair. I was remembering the way the father of my son had treated me. And then now I'm seeing the way this man is treating me. And I was getting upset. And my mom was telling me, it's not about the man. Don't focus about the man. She was like, Rephar, look at the bigger picture. I was like, Mom, which is the bigger picture? I made it now a feminine issue. And my mom let me rant, and I ranted, and I ranted, and I ranted. And then she told me, Rephar, have you gotten it out of your system now? She was like, now calm down. She was like, calm down. She was like, Rephar, you'll be able to do what you want on your own terms. So she was like, don't focus on anyone, but focus on only what God is going to let you do. So I felt responsible for letting those girls down. I told my mom, I don't think I'll be reaching out to the community anytime soon, because I don't want to be able to feel that kind of pain. And I can remember being at that point where you're desperate and someone comes, it's like they're shining the light on their life. And then all of a sudden, the light is out.
Mm.
So I remember my mom told me, you take your time. You still have things you need to work through. But I know this is what you're supposed to be doing. I stopped even connecting myself to the community, to the society. I didn't even want to know what was going on there. When eventually I got a job, I told myself, now I can actually stop thinking about reaching out to the community completely. I have a job. It was fulfilling, yes, but still, there was still that nagging feeling that there was still something that is not right. But I was like, I can't pay too much attention to it. So even when I moved from that place of work to the other one, I got a good position. And I was like, now the sky is the limit. Now that I'm actually working and I'm in a position of power where I can actually call the shots, I talked to the boss that we actually have something that we put aside so that we can also be giving back to the community, even though it's once a year. So I remember I talked to him and he was like, that's a very good idea, Rephar. I identify where you'd like us to take the funds. If it's food, if it's clothing, you tell us, we are going to do it. So I was very happy.
Mm-hmm.
So as the year was progressing, as I kept on reminding him, I remember at around October, because I was telling him, let us do it towards Christmas, so that as you're closing for holiday, as you're breaking for holiday, we gift them as they're also preparing themselves for the Christmas holiday. And I remember that first year when I was there, he told me, Rephar, this year, we've not done business very well. So you just have that thought, you just hold on to it. We'll do it come next year. But unfortunately, that 2017 is when I lost my dad.
Mm.
So now when I lost my dad, I remember I was home for a month. When I came back, I need to pick up from where I left. So when I went back and I told him, I gave you a proposal. What do you think about it? We're heading towards the end of the year. He told me, Rephar, you've just suffered a loss. Slow down. Things are going to happen. You don't worry. You keep on with your work. Things are going to happen. His conversation took me aback because I remember he told me, Rephar, you're a very beautiful woman. You're a very beautiful, attractive, and hardworking woman. And I'm a man who has a lot of money. You're single and you're a single mother. Why can't you just accept to be my wife and I'll be able to cater to you and give you everything that you need? And I was like, are you serious? He was like, what's the problem? My 3 wives will not mind. They already know how this thing works.
He already had 3 wives.
Yes, he already had 3 wives. So he told me they'll even tell you how they normally get to work around me so that you also feel like part of the family. So for me, I was like, I think this must be a bad dream. I don't think this conversation actually happened. I lost my job simply because not giving in to the sexual advances from my boss. And I didn't get anything out of it. I remember I gave up. I was depressed. But I thought to myself, I've already been messed up by 2 men in things that I've been doing. I can't let this 3rd man again do it. So I remember I was talking to my brother and he told me, Rephar, we have a slum across. You can go reach out to women who are just as vulnerable as you are and whose situation is even worse than yours. So I remember I went to Korogocho slums and I spoke to the chief. And the chief introduced me to a lady who agreed to rally some women who need help. But I told her specifically, I only want single mothers and widows. the ones who are barely getting by. I want people whom I know I'll be able to actually have an imprint in their life. And she told me, here in the slum, that is like almost every woman. So she told me, just come next week Friday and you'll get your women. So I remember I went on that Friday and 25 women had come. So when I spoke to them and I told them what my agenda was and my idea, they were up for it. So I told them to be meeting every Friday at 2. So I told them, I'm not here to give you handouts. I'm here to train you so that you can be able to go get it for yourself. So by the 3rd week as we're meeting, I remained with 10 women. And those 10 women are the ones walking them up till now.
Wow.
I have women who are HIV positive. I have others who are diabetic and others who have high blood pressure. And these women, they're those who are raising their grandkids because also they lost their own kids to HIV and AIDS. So now she is the one who has remained to take care of these children.
I see.
When you look at the spaces they live in with all these children, you can't even tell them that you're sorry or how can I help? Because when you look at them, you just know this person needs help.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought to myself, the best way to help them is not to give them anything, because when you give them handouts, for how long are you going to give them handouts? But if you're able to teach them a skill or two, that is going to last them a very long time. As we're meeting every Friday, I told them to start table banking, where you're able to give as little as 20 shillings, which I think is about 2 cents.
Mm-hmm.
You put the 20 shillings, put the money together, you lend it out, and when you bring it back within the next week, you bring it back with an interest. So that's what they were doing. And I showed them how to write the books to keep the records. So-and-so borrowed this amount, you owe us this amount. So come Friday, you've not given us that amount, you are penalized. And then again, an interest is put on the money, but you will not be able to borrow until you pay. So anyone who's eligible to borrow is only the one who's cleared what they're owing. So by doing that, and also by teaching them how to keep those books, and they've been able to save money, and they were able to buy material to make liquid soap, which they sold themselves within their own slum area.
Yes.
So as we progressed, again, from the sale of the soap, they're able to put some money aside to buy jewelry for beadwork, to make handbags, how to make earrings, necklaces, and also how to make foot rugs. And I told them, I'm not the one who's selling for you. You have to sell it for yourself. And I remember by 2 weeks, that sold out everything.
Right on.
So I told them, now let's take money for buying the material. The other money, deposit it in your account. So they're still doing the table banking. They still borrow money, they still bring back money, and they still have money from whatever they were making to be able to buy the materials they need to make the crafts that they're making. But unfortunately now, 2020, due to the COVID, we're not able to meet and we're not able to do what we're doing, though we just communicate via phone. The things we take for granted, it's just like you've taken them to heaven and back. And for me, that's what just keeps me going.
I bet. Well, and I can just hear your passion when you talk about helping these individuals, whether it was the young boys or these young women or these women looking after their grandchildren. You just have such a big heart for helping others and lifting others up. I can see in your face the life that gives you.
I identify the gift through my mom, and I really thank God for that.
Your mom's inspiration and her wisdom, she could be a coach. She really does have a beautiful way of encouraging and motivating you, and a great deal of insight into knowing who you were and who you are.
Yeah.
I love that. And she's not doing it for you. She's just trusting in you and letting you find your passion and figure out how to do it. And that is actually the essence of a coach, is seeing the gifts in you and pulling that out, but also supporting you to go out and figure it out for yourself. So beautiful. I love your mom. I hope I get to meet her one day.
Definitely you will. You will.
So Rephar, maybe as we get ready to finish, I so love all of your stories, and you really are an inspiration, because at a time where you had very little, you were feeling really beat up. You looked outward in the community to really see how you could help others. And I hear that as a big part of your resilience, is not just focusing in on your hardship, but looking out to others to see how you can lift them up.
Yeah, that is true.
What has surprised you, even as you tell this story, as you remember what you've been through? What has surprised you most about yourself?
That I'm a fighter, and I never thought I had the strength to fight. But even the way I've talked to you, when I remember you actually came through all that, and I'm still happy about life, and I'm still energetic about life. And also when I look at my son and how he's grown, and we have a very beautiful relationship as well, whatever fountain that is in me that I didn't know I have, when I see how people are responding, it actually tells me that that strength and that ability that I have in me, it's not for me. It's for other people to be able to share and to be able to grow from it. I draw strength from myself. I draw strength from my mother, and for having that fighting spirit. Because if I wouldn't be able to fight, I really don't think I would have had these lives that I can confidently stand and say, these lives are changing because I also accepted to change my own life, to take a different course and to have a different approach at life and also at situations. In that just because you're bit doesn't mean that you're out.
Exactly.
Just because you don't have doesn't mean that you're empty. Because they say even when a glass is empty, you can still be able to trickle and get at least a drop. The glass is still moist. For me, I'm pulling all that moisture from within, and I'm able to gather that drop. And that drop is able at least to bring forth some life, and it's new life. It just makes me love life even more.
I love that visual. That was a great metaphor. So thank you, Rephar, for taking some time to chat with us today. Your story is one of resilience for sure. And I really appreciate your vulnerability, your courage, your strength, that you are then inspiring others. So thank you.
And thank you so much for having me as well. You're also a source of strength. You have no idea the stories that you put out there.
Well, I appreciate that.
Just know we're many. It's just you're not alone. So one or another, we're working together as a network.
Beautiful. I love that. What a great spot to leave it. So thank you, Rephar. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
In hearing Rephar's story, I am reminded once again of the strength and courage available to us when we least expect it. With the beautiful support of her family, Rephar's mother was instrumental in reminding Rephar of her gifts. I think we sometimes need to be reminded of our internal resources, particularly when we are discouraged. For someone who had so little herself, Rephar found her purpose in helping those who may not otherwise have had the same support that she had. I love her curiosity and tenacity in asking questions, finding out what challenges they may have been facing. In doing so, Rephar found a purpose. Taking what I would call somewhat of a coach approach, Rephar worked with each of these groups to support them in finding their own solutions, just like her mother did with her. I also noticed something in Rephar's story that is a common challenge for many of us. When faced with adversity, we might initially experience a number of limiting beliefs. For example, Rephar did not believe she could sell her jewelry, but what she did end up selling was hope to those she serves. In having a thinking partner and someone to walk alongside us, creative ideas are generated and new outcomes discovered. In experimenting with possibilities, you might be surprised by the evidence emerging for a new story or a belief to grow. What if Rephar didn't reach out and try some of those ideas? What might she have missed as an opportunity to discover her purpose? This story is so much more than Rephar's experiences, but one of community, transformation, and inspiration that happens when one person is willing to step out of their comfort zone and have a conversation with strangers. I also have to reiterate that Rephar's metaphor in the empty glass of water, even if it appears empty, you can often find even one small droplet of water. It's a great reminder to find even a small amount of hope, even when all seems lost. This episode made me think of the kintsugi, a Japanese style of pottery. The process of creating art by putting together broken pieces with gold. This suggests that as we embrace flaws and imperfections, we can create an even stronger, more beautiful piece of art. Applying this creative approach to healing ourselves teaches us that sometimes in the process of repairing things that are broken, we actually create something more unique, beautiful, and resilient. As a reflection question, I'm wondering, looking back on times when you have felt broken, what strengths have you since discovered? What have these experiences taught you that may bring a sense of compassion, curiosity, or empathy for others? And to remember, beauty comes in many forms. Thank you for listening to this episode of A Resilience Project. We would not be doing this podcast without you. If you or someone you know has an inspirational story or is helping to build resilience in their community, please email me at cindy@aresilienceproject.com. In fact, email me either way. I would love to hear from you. My hope is to feature an episode periodically on your letters of resilience. I'm very interested in hearing your story of how you have tackled hard things and what worked for you. With your permission, I hope to share some of these stories along the way with our listeners. Also, check out my website, aresilienceproject.com, to learn more about our amazing guests. Your presence here is important because together we are cultivating a village of resilient individuals. You are creating a space for their stories to be shared and a sacred space for learning to occur. I also have a favor. I would love for you to go to your preferred podcast platform, rate and review the podcast so that we will know how we're doing. I also would like to express my gratitude to the amazing team of volunteers that have jumped on board to support this project. You will find each of those beautiful people on my website on the team page. As you go about this week, I invite you to think about one way that you can continue to grow your resilient muscle. What is one thing you can start with today? See you next week.
Ever find yourself waiting endlessly at a big box pharmacy, feeling like just another number? At Tablet Pharmacy, they provide the personalized service you deserve. They offer free delivery and blister packaging options to make managing your medications easier than ever. Check their competitive prices online at tabletpharmacy.ca